You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 259, 5 Unconventional Habits to Fast Track Your Breakup Recovery. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful brave hearts. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great day. As I'm recording this, I am actually 32 weeks pregnant. So when you hear this, I may already have Teddy Earthside with me, or maybe he hasn't arrived yet, but my due date is October 9th, and I have a feeling he'll come early. And I think that this episode, I think, is going to be coming out on October 7th. So we'll see. It's like, are we predicting the future or not? I don't know, right? So today I wanted to share 5 unconventional habits that I have seen to be working, not just for myself, but also for my students. These are habits that, of course, are great for you if you're going through a breakup and getting over your ex, but also really great for you if you're working on building that bigger and better life. So, Braveheart, let's dive in. I am so excited to talk about these habits. Some of them are going to sound weird, okay? That's why we named it 5 Unconventional Habits. So stick with me. I'm going to explain them all, I promise, okay? So the first one is being delusional. I talk about this a little bit on the podcast in various ways, okay? But this is really normally seen as a negative thing, being delusional. And at least for me, I was raised to think realistically. I have that in quotes here, right? Quote, realistically, end quote. Like, Dorothy, be realistic. We're going to want to, I remember my dad specifically saying, you need to realize, Dorothy, that you will always be middle class. You might be upper middle class, but you need to be realistic about that in your future planning. And love my dad. Thank you, Dad, so much. Thank you. But it's taken me so much work to rewire that neural pathway, because that is not the theme of my life. That is not the theme I want to live out, of being middle class. I also associate it with like medium or mediocre. So I've been unconditioning myself, rewiring that part of my brain. But a lot of us, especially if you're a millennial raised by a baby boomer, I think we were raised to look at things, quote unquote, realistically, or else we were not responsible, right? But here's the thing. None of us know what the future entails. Literally none of us know. Just like I'm sitting here, I have no idea if my baby's going to come early, come late, on time, quote unquote, on time. I have no idea. Literally not one single person can know what the future is. We can make some pretty informed guesses. We can use data to calculate, and you all know me, I love data and calculating and all of that, to make guesses. But pretty wild stuff has happened. We had a pandemic. Stable jobs were no longer stable. Cars became investments. Interest rates on home loans right now are as much as the interest rate on a college loan. There's all kinds of things happening that may or may not have been projected by one or multiple people or by nobody. And instead of being realistic, I really want to urge you to be delusional, but in a way that works for you and moves you forward, instead of leaving you feeling discouraged or paralyzed in fear, right? Because essentially, since we're literally all making the future up, like especially when you're sitting in the present moment, I really want you to take a moment and think about this. When you are sitting in the present moment and you are thinking about a future moment, you're making it up. It's pretend. That is delusion. It is completely made up. It's delusion. So you're either delusional in a way that makes you feel scared and panicked and worried. You're thinking of a future scenario that is made up that makes you feel panicked, scared, and worried. Or you're thinking about a future scenario in a way that makes you feel excited, eager, and optimistic. And both of those are just as likely, no matter what data we have. And I can say this because of the car example, which we've talked about before on the podcast as well, is just like, for a very long time, cars were not investments, but all of a sudden when there's a chip shortage, I buy a car and my car was an investment. No one could have predicted that. But I got to believe it, and I got to be delusional in buying my car so that I got to feel better about this future. And then it was just a bonus that it worked out that way. But you get to choose. And what I notice is that my students who get over their exes faster learn to use this delusion in a way that projects an amazing future that helps them not only get over their ex, but actually start taking action towards creating that bigger and better life. Because if they didn't delusionally believe in a dream, they could delusionally not believe in it. But if they didn't delusionally believe in it, then they don't take action towards it. Versus, clients or students that I notice, they're delusionally not believing in the dream and then not taking action towards it. It's like those are the two options. The second thing I want to talk about, another unconventional habit that I've noticed in individuals, is believe before you see. And you might have heard this a lot before. I'm noticing those same students who are getting over their exes faster and actually taking action towards their bigger and better life versus just wallowing, complaining, and whining, they are actively believing that they are over their ex before they see the result of it. What? Many people think you have to show up like you're over your ex before you can believe you're over your ex, and you have to have evidence of being over your ex before you can believe it. But in reality, it's the opposite. Once you start believing, I can be over my ex, I'm learning to be over my ex, I'm getting over my ex. Once you start believing that, you'll actually begin to naturally and organically begin to practice and show up as the version of you who's over her ex. You have to start believing, I am the person who's over her ex. I am over my ex. And this goes for anything you're creating in your bigger and better life. I'm working with a student right now on her 120K a year self. She is someone who, wants to make 120K a year. And so she is working on becoming that version of herself. She is someone who makes 120K a year. That's different than saying I want to make 120K a year versus I am someone who makes 120K a year. And she tries that on every day. She actually it was really cool in our little platform. She shared a photo of, she put her beliefs, what her beliefs are as her 120K self, and put them up in her closet. And so every time she's getting dressed, she's dressing on those beliefs, which is so smart. But she will believe that she's a 120K a year earner, and she will feel that way and be acting like that before she ever even sees the result of it in her account. And that's such a cool experience. I remember when I was working towards 200K Dorothy, and I felt like I was running a 200K Dorothy for so long that it was like wild to me when we actually hit it. It wasn't even like that big of a deal because I already felt like it had been done for so long. I was like, wait, what? That's been done forever. That's like been checked off, ready to go. And so it was such an interesting experience. And I've done that with so many different big and awesome things in my life, but you have to become that person, right? I became that person. I believed I was that person before the evidence appeared. And a lot of times we're waiting for the evidence to be there to then believe in ourselves, to believe in the idea, and to believe in our ability to become that version. And I'm asking you to do the opposite. I'm asking you to believe in whatever version of you're going after before you see the evidence of it, because you're going to help create evidence for it as you believe in it. 3, focused on growth, not the gap. All right. So the students getting over their exes faster and building their bigger and better lives quicker are spending way more time looking at how well they are doing instead of how far they have to go. Doesn't mean that they're not looking at, areas of improvement, but they spend way more time focused on how they're doing well and what they're doing well, and they start doing more of what's working. And it's an interesting thing, right? Because looking at the gap, the difference between how far you have to go, right? It feels productive when we do this, doesn't it? Like, here I am, and here's where I want to go, and here's what I have not been doing well, so I can be sure to change it. Here's how far I have left to go. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, you're going to look at this, of course, and do it in a way that is clear, to the point, and then get back to celebrating how far you have come. Do not spend more time focused on how far you have left. Spend more time focused on what you are celebrating, what you have accomplished, what you have built up in your skill set, and keep focusing on that, because what you focus on grows. And so I just noticed that these students are way more focused on their growth, way less focused on their gap. Number 4, they think highly of themselves. This seems like a conventional habit, doesn't it? But it doesn't come naturally to a lot of us, right? And my biggest saying around thinking highly of yourself is a 0 tolerance policy for negative self-talk. Just like, you guys, I'm gonna say it like this, so I don't mean any offense, okay? But just like doing meth on a Tuesday at work is a non-negotiable to you, so is talking negatively about yourself, inside your mind or out in the world, out loud, okay? My really successful students spend more time thinking highly of themselves than shit-talking themselves, period. It's really that simple. I have a 0 tolerance policy for smoking. I don't even dabble in it. I don't even think about it. It's not even like something that comes to mind. Now, if you catch yourself, right, it's very simple. If you notice yourself participating in negative self-talk, here's 3 steps. 1, notice yourself doing it. 2, stop doing it. 3, say something nice to yourself instead. It really can be that simple. I know that sometimes we think it's not that simple, but it really, really can be that simple. I promise you. Notice yourself doing it. Stop doing it. Say something nice to yourself instead. Period. Done. Don't overcomplicate it. Okay. Number 5, don't try, but do. The word try drives me freaking up a wall. Rarely do you hear my best students saying, I'm trying. More often than not, here's what they say to me. I tried this and I failed. Or I tried this and I succeeded. Here's what I'm doing next. Period. They might use the word tested too. Like, I tested this breakup protocol. Here's what worked for me. Here's what didn't. And here's what I'm doing next. But the students I hear saying, like, I'm trying, like the active ing of it, instead of like, I tried this or I tried that. Or even when someone's saying, like, I tried everything. But it's in this like whiny or complainy energy. You know what I'm saying? And I see it in myself too. I'm not saying this at you guys. I have seen this in myself too. I've done this, and I pick up on it when I'm like, I'm kind of annoyed by myself. I'm kind of annoyed of myself. Do you ever get to that place? And here's the thing. Like I said, I'm not above it. I'm not saying this is to you, right? I do the same thing, but we have to catch ourselves. And if I find myself saying, I've tried all the things, nothing is working, I'm trying, the very next question out of my mouth is going to be this. Where in my life am I not taking ownership? Where in this situation am I not taking ownership? Own what's happening in your life. And of course, there are things outside of your control. We aren't trying to control the things that we can't control, but your feelings, your actions, your results in your life are always in your control, because all of those things are created through your thoughts. The optional stories you say in your mind. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please listen to episodes 1-5 and know that your thoughts create your feelings, and those feelings fuel how you show up and your behaviors in your life. And those actions and behaviors, they create the results in your life, no matter if it's a result of not being over your ex, or how much money's in your bank account, or what house you live in. Own it, my friend. Own the results that you have in your life. Look at what actions have created it. Look at what feelings have driven those actions or inaction. And look at what stories are creating those emotions. And own it inside out and backwards so that you're not just trying, but you're doing and then evaluating. It's almost like trying is whining and doing is believing. Doing something about it is believing that something can be done about it, that there is a solution. Awesome. Okay. I hope that was the swift kick in your butt for the week ahead. I am owning things in my life now that I haven't owned in a long time. And y'all, it feels good. I want you to get on this train with me. Come join me. And if you're loving this, right, come hang out with me on Instagram at Breakup Coach Dorothy. I'd love to know what you decided to own and how it's changed your breakup journey, or which of these 5 are you really working on right now and how have you been implementing them? It's so fun to chat with you about it. And of course, if you want help applying these tools, the best way to work with me is in the Get Over Your Ex course. There are 80 plus lessons, all created from the years I've spent coaching, lifetime access to everything you need in your breakup or your divorce to not only get over your ex, but to build a life that is bigger and better than the one that you had with your ex, all in one spot, y'all, all at your fingertips as soon as you enroll. So I love you so much. I'm sending you all the love. I cannot wait to talk to you next time, and I'll see you later.
If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.